Hello, this is Tom Cassidy outside of the Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church near Loring Park across from the Walker, and soon we're going to go inside to speak with Dean Seal, director of the upcoming Spirit in the House Festival. This is the 14th episode, 14th, how do you like this for cheap special effects, episode of Access to Art, a production of the Minneapolis Television Network that covers not just the known higher profile institutional arts programs in our fine city, but also some of the under the radar artists, the underappreciated artists, the collectives and quirky things that make our art scene so vital. Anti-Civ Records, a new music collective, has created a community of support for 19 local bands. Members pool resources, network, and book live performances. Correspondent Laura Stopyro attended a show at the collective's new space, Future Pasture.
Me and Gordon played a guerrilla show in Uptown, where the Uptown Library, the words are in the little hill there.
I had like kind of a small PA, and we went up there, and Shuggy played an acoustic set for, you know, like this small group, and I did my loud one-man band.
The cops came and shut it down, and we decided after that show pretty much to start Anti-Civ Records. It's a collective. Anyone can volunteer, get involved, and be a part of the collective.
We have a dedication to diversity, and we don't want to just be a punk rock record label.
Our band is on the record label Anti-Civ Records, and so I'm a part of the Anti-Civ collective.
The band's ideology has to kind of align with ours. Hardworking, at least for yourselves and for each other, with an understanding of strong community ethics.
Right now we have a weekly collective meeting. People meet at Future Pasture, our space, every Tuesday night.
You know, we kind of outgrown anybody's home. We were looking for places we could all just chip in and have music where we wouldn't bother anybody.
Future Pasture is a space that Anti-Civ found. We have big shows there. Lots of people have been coming out.
We're on tour for 6 weeks, and when we walked in, it was fantastic. It was like there was no stage, or the stage was sort of in the midst of being built, and for me, that's exciting.
The space is great. Like, I came in earlier, you know, a couple days ago, and it was trashed with boards everywhere, and cardboard and couches scattered throughout. Yesterday, me and a friend came in, started building the stage, and got it done today.
Talk about booking bands, we talk about all the committees. People can come to the meetings, people can work on committees, people can do physical volunteer work, like working at the space, working at the shows that we book and we run.
Everybody's kind of pooled equipment, and everybody's been pulling scraps, going on Craigslist, looking for people getting rid of lumber and carpeting and stuff.
Because I have a big van, I was doing a lot of hauling of mattresses and dumpstering supplies so that we could kind of build the stage and the space to have shows.
We've got no budget. And for the bands, we've got no money. The community support is kind of priceless.
This collective is more inclusive and doing it yourself and trying to build community. And it's very feminist and anti-homophobic and anti-corporate, anti-capitalistic.
We all share resources and help each other out. We help each other book. We share, like, touring booking.
From the record label standpoint, for like, you know, we like try to help out touring bands, and hopefully that'll foster like a nationwide community where it's all these bands know each other, and when they go around the country, they've got shows to play and places to stay and nice people to talk to.
Give the band a good show, make sure they get some gas money, maybe feed them if you can, and give them a place to crash, and then, you know, give them a good experience. We don't want people passing over Minneapolis.
We're hoping that, you know, the live space, the Future Pasture, will, you know, eventually start paying for itself in donations. We really want to put out records for bands that are on the label.
Everybody at Anti-Civ is super rad. Like, we show up at each other's shows.
And I've met some amazing people. Almost be hard to imagine my life without having met some of these people, like, from all over the country.
The thing about Anti-Civ Records is that it's evolving. it's been around, and honestly, like, all these new people are coming into the collective, and I consider myself to be one of those people. And I feel like we're all bringing some new stuff to the table.
I think like our combined resources is one of the bigger pluses to being involved with anti-civ. Because nobody's got everything, but together we've got a lot.
All the animals are sleeping in the cages where we keep them. That's still pretty when they're sad. That's still pretty when they're sad.
It's just kind of exciting for me to be in the Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church for the first time and to meet Dean Seal for the first time, known in the alternative arts community, and I'm sure elsewhere as well, as original director of Minneapolis Fringe Festival, who then went on with spectacular tangents called Spiritual Fringe, more recently Manifest, and upcoming now Spirit in the House, which will be held here, featuring 30 different performing art presentations in 6 venues, all within the church, and coming up, I believe, May 23rd through June 1st.
That's
Dean
great.
Seal, I'm thrilled to meet you.
Thanks.
And I don't know how you can summarize the story arc I just hinted at, but give it a try.
Well, I want to clear one thing up. I was the second director of the Minnesota Fringe.
Oh, not in my heart.
But thanks. But it got to be the largest fringe in the United States when I was working it. So, and then I took some time off and went to a United Theological Seminary and got a master's degree in theology and the arts because I wanted to bring more meaning to my work. It wasn't enough to just have theater going on. And I'm not alone in that. And through my work there, I started working with spirituality and the arts. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. And we started with a bunch of shows that couldn't get into the Fringe. They're on the waiting list. And I saw that there were like 9 or 10 spiritual shows. And I said, you know, when I ran the Fringe, if we had 10 shows, we'd just open another venue. So we decided to set up our own corporation and find a new home, and here we are at Hennepin Methodist. There's 6 venues. We actually have 30 shows plus 4 movies. What's really cool about this is that some of these shows wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this festival. One of them is Kevin Kling, who was going to do a show, and then he decided he's going to do his about the Bible. He's never done that before. It's the artists who have come forth and said, this is my opportunity to do something that I don't think would be necessarily would find a comfortable home in another circumstance.
We thank you for speaking with us, and we're going to take a look at 2 shows in rehearsal a little later on.
Great. Thanks for looking at us.
Non-commercial jazz radio station KBEM, which operates out of North High School, has been training students in broadcasting since the 1960s. Access to Art Correspondent Hamil Griffin-Cassidy, who is also my son, recently visited with students and staff. Ashley Siebels edited this piece.
I don't know, I always wanted to be on the radio.
I mean, who wouldn't want to, you know, when, like in their day, go to a jazz station and be a host for an hour? I mean, it's pretty cool.
KBEM really is student-focused, so it would be hard to imagine the radio station without the students.
When I was in 8th grade, I was really heavy into music, and my counselor kind of told me to come here, and I've been here ever since. It's been a lot of fun working with students. They know a lot about technology, so it's cool to feed them more information and have them grow.
What it is an educational program that is housed in North High School. It serves the whole district, however, and students from anywhere in the district could come and take classes here or be involved in after-school activities, learn about broadcasting, and learn about audio production. So we have weekdays, Monday through Friday. We have students on the air live from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They come into the classroom as part of their day.
They get 8 hours of work behind the board. They get to work with our audio production software. They become perfectionists, and they become creators and great artists. They start to tell me when I miss a cue or when something is too long or too short.
Joe Lovano, Dave Liebman, and John Abercrombie.
I think overall they take away, you learn the communication skills, which you can use the communication skills at any job. They're getting a lot of technical experience, but overall they're getting the full communication package. They're learning how to communicate and talk to people, and that is priceless.
The suspect was targeting 2 people and fired at them, which also targeted another person after a second gunfire shot.
I can't even understand.
Nice. You didn't understand it? Do it again.
It helps to create an opportunity for them to see other options in life instead of, working as somebody in some firm behind a cubicle and a computer. There's art, there's media, there's radio broadcast, there's show programmer, there's the guy who puts the music in, there's the guy who edits. And so I think they see possibilities.
Well, why don't you offer something that's more interesting to the kids, that's relevant to them? My answer to them is, would you ask an English teacher not to teach Shakespeare or John Updike? I mean, would you have them just read comic books and something that's interesting to them? We want to teach them about the classics. It's important for kids to know.
I listen to music more. Like, we used to come and we used to listen to music, and we would try to find different instruments. And now I can really listen to music and tell. I can tell what's there.
I like Quincy Jones, Miles Davis, Ray Charles, B.B. King, Ella Fitzgerald, a lot of people.
We all have an instructional purpose in the lives of these students.
I love creating an outlet or a venue so that the students are able to express themselves. I think that student expression is something that is lacking in our society, in our community. There's all these things that are going on, and the students need to be able to find a release to say, I got to get this out of me. So not only do we want to allow them to do this through radio broadcasting, but we want them to be artistic enough to create their own shows and create their own audio production projects.
I'm Terrell Williams for Jazz 88.
Coming up next is McCoy.
I get a chance to do something I've never gotten a chance to do. I think this is a great opportunity for indie students.
Al Foster's playing the drums, Jazz 88.
The origin actually was a dream where I was at the Cultural Center, and I went down into the basement, and there was a woman singing Yamaya. I felt that I was in some way honored that I was following this path and learning these rhythms, and I was given permission.
It's a beautiful piece. Each time I hear it, it evokes even deeper feelings. But I don't know really what the source of those feelings are. You want to guess for me?
No, I think that's the power of the drum. I mean, I really, really do. I think that it speaks to levels of consciousness. It awakens levels of consciousness that I think we have been taught to bury for millennia.
Project Opera, a program of the Minnesota Opera, teaches young people from grade 4 through high school the fundamentals of operatic singing and performance. Their high school-aged ensemble puts on a fully staged opera every spring. Correspondent Beth Peloff attended a rehearsal and performance of The Nightingale, their current production.
A lot of them come from programs in their schools that are not strong at pushing the top level of students.
I didn't even get in the musical because my voice was too big.
There's some people that haven't heard about opera yet, and I have had the privilege to be in operas.
The staging and the costumes and the music and the drama all come together in opera.
Once they hear Project Opera, they're all like, really?
This is such a unique program, not only in this community, but nationwide, where kids can come and learn the classically trained voice in a very high-performing ensemble. Our productions try to replicate the professionalism that are what we do on our main stage. Project Opera is 2 ensembles made up of kids in grades 4 through 7 is the younger ensemble, and 8 through 12 for the older ensemble.
About 55 students, and they do primarily operatic repertoire, with the Big Spring project being our fully staged opera, and this year it was The Nightingale. And then the top tier would be our apprentice program. And these are students who really have the potential of going on and having a career in singing. We do everything from the business side, learning about resumes, how to present themselves at auditions. We teach them repertoire. They also serve as the principal artists in our spring production.
I played Death, and I also played the top voice of the Nightingale.
I was one of the 4 counselors.
I was the kitchen maid.
I was the bottom part of the Nightingale.
I was a singer Nightingale.
I was the dancing Nightingale.
And I was a counselor.
I think I left every rehearsal just thrilled, because the music is so beautiful and the kids really liked it. They were challenged by it, but they wanted to meet the challenge. It was also incredibly challenging because the music is difficult.
A lot of the melodies and just the nature of the music is very different from a lot of your traditional opera.
When someone was gone for rehearsals, it was really hard to find where all of the music, the notes went, because they all are so intertwined.
The last 2 rehearsals were nothing short of amazing. They pulled the show together. And then the 4 performances just kept getting better and better and better.
I like being able to be on stage and learn a role and be able to kind of go through that process, because I think this is probably one of the only places that you get to do that in an operatic setting.
They really teach the students how to create the storytelling aspect of it, both vocally and in their acting.
Okay. On the count of 3, I want to see inquisitive. 1, 2, 3.
Several of us are actually going to be in the chorus of Rusalka, which is the next opera going on here at Minnesota Opera.
You get to see how a rehearsal works, and you get to sing with people that have been doing this for a lot of years, and they really, really know their craft.
Even to be in the chorus is just amazing.
A lot of our students come from schools where they might be the only singer that has a voice with the artistic potential to sing operatically. So they're looking for opportunities. Where can I go to sing?
At my high school, people that do the actual musical theater did not want me in the production because I would basically drown out everybody on stage. This is my opportunity to be on stage and my opportunity to prepare for college.
All of us are putting these rehearsals together with our other music rehearsals, you know, with our work in school. So just like finding that whole balance and trying to do high quality work.
To have a program where young people who may in their own schools feel odd about pursuing a passion for opera, it provides a way for them to come together and realize that there are other people who care about this deeply.
There's not just one number one. We all really work hard together.
I think the greatest thing is just coming every week and just getting to hang around with other singers. You know, there's working on the piece, and then there's just hanging out during breaks in the green room.
But I think it's really important to expose students to avenues where they can feel. Because we all have emotions. We all have things that are going on in our life, highs and lows. We all are trying to find connections. And I think opera is a really great way to do it. I think it's an art form that fits the bill.
I was sitting barefoot and cross-legged on the floor of my best friend's basement apartment. We heard someone in her apartment building screaming. I was off and running toward the sound of the screaming. It was like, for that one moment, I really was part of the body of Christ. Whatever was happening to that woman screaming was also happening to me. I think it would have been better if I had stayed sitting in my friend's apartment. The woman could have run into her neighbor's apartment. They could have jumped through the second-story window and run to safety when the man with the gun I don't know. I wrote it probably 11 years after the murder, so there had been a long time of healing afterwards. And I think I was at a point where I felt like I could offer this piece as a piece of art and as something that would be valuable to the community.
This piece has to be especially rewarding for you.
It's really hard work. It feels really, really, really different from other theater work that I do. You know, other theater work is kind of more fun and more flashy. This doesn't feel flashy at all to me. And
no, it's very bare bones. It's very raw. It's very appropriate for a spirit in the house, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I see it as a form of ministry.
There could be an intent behind Spirit in the House this year that many of the programs go on to other congregations, other groups.
Yeah, I'd love to perform it in other churches as well.
For 14 years, Cave Paper has been hand-making fine archival paper for artists and bookbinders around the world. Correspondent Laura Stopyro descended into the cold, damp underlayment of the warehouse district to meet with owners Bridget O'Malley and Amanda Degener.
We like to call ourselves a big fish in a small pond, at least in the paper world, largely because it's a very small pond.
Paper makers always end up on the lower floors of every building because of the whole water thing. And there's a lot of dripping water at the end of the day. You hang up your blankets and, you know, it sort of sounds like a cave. This is called the Incunabula Arts Building, and it's owned by Greg Campbell, who's a bookbinder. We think of Greg as one of those old-fashioned sponsors. Well, nobody really works down in the basement. If you guys want to set up shop down there, I won't charge you any rent for the first 5 years. I think actually Cave Paper is a perfect name. It sort of is like our papers, if you think about them. You know, papers have a roughness about them. As people work with them, they realize how incredibly refined they are.
I am always trying to make the best paper I can make at any given moment, because I decided long ago that life was too crazy to try and have a specific mission statement. We try to be as archival as possible, and flax itself is the raw material we're using for the paper, has been used for hundreds of years. We use filtered water to get rid of any chlorine and particulate matter that's in the water. It's really amazing to sometimes work with librarians who are repairing old books, who are trying to find a material that's compatible with the spirit of the original materials, and sometimes they'll come to us. We get to take our place in history that way.
Bridget and I are both practicing exhibiting artists. I tend to work more with three-dimensional artwork. Bridget works more with the relationship of paper to the print. She's got a master's in printmaking, and I have one in sculpture. I bring all that knowledge that I gain from, you know, working day in, day out as a paper maker. I bring all that knowledge into my artwork.
So both Amanda and I have really focused on the idea of sharing that information with people. So we do workshops around the country, sharing what we know, because, like I said, it doesn't do us any good just to keep it down here in the basement.
It sounds like, we have this proprietary sort of situation. We really tell everyone everything. We've had over 50 interns in the time that we've been working together. And, some of them, a few of them have gone on to become paper makers. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it's nice if that happens, but that's not the end goal. I think everyone who's worked here has learned something, either about paper or about life or something.
Well, I have this little box that I keep. Usually when people pay us, they send a little note. It's very sweet. They'll thank us or, oh my God, your papers are awesome. And so on any given day, if you're feeling really blue and feeling like, why am I down here in the freezing cold and making paper, and you can go look in the box and you get a lot of positive feedback from people often you've never met in person.
It's nice to be a paper maker day in, day out, to have the sheets of paper running through your hands and becoming part of your knowledge. It's not just brain knowledge, it's tacit learning.
Thus wraps another episode of Access to Art. It might surprise you to learn that a lot of what I say on this program is scripted for me, so I avoid the sorts of tangents I commonly go off on when I rant, rave, praise, and celebrate the arts in the Minneapolis community. I get exhilarated thinking about all the things that go on in our town. And you don't have to watch your language when you attend or participate or create some of these events, because that's what art is all about. Not staying in the lines, not taking care of what you say, but the mere fact that you participate and do it. See you next time. Does my voice sound spongy? By having a Nerf microphone, it minimizes the impact of any inappropriate thing I might say. It looks like it can hurt you, but it'll bounce right off.
I've been dreaming a long time. And what I mean is not just when I'm asleep, I'm a daydreamer.
I like to look longingly and proud with the sun setting in the background. So the horizon line is merely an extension of my shadow line. As soon as we get that program, Access to Healthcare, we're going to have a hit. What do you think?